In a striking instance of misinformation and market volatility, Warren Buffett has publicly denied rumors circulating on social media that he endorsed President Donald Trump's controversial economic strategies, which many believe are contributing to a significant downturn in the stock market. This clarification comes in the wake of Trump sharing a provocative video on his Truth Social platform that argues he is deliberately crashing the market to lower interest and mortgage rates, allegedly with Buffett's approval. The video, which has gained traction online, claims that Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. It falsely attributes a statement to Buffett suggesting he endorsed Trump's economic moves as the best he has seen in over 50 years. In response, Buffett's company Berkshire Hathaway issued a firm denial, stating, "All such reports are false." The 94-year-old investor expressed his concerns about the rapid spread of misinformation, emphasizing his intention to refrain from making public comments on the economy until after Berkshire's annual meeting on May 3. Buffett's position on tariffs, which have been a significant aspect of Trump's economic policy, has historically been critical. Just last month he described tariffs as an act of war to some degree, explaining that they ultimately serve as a tax on goods without any benefits to consumers. His various warnings over the years about the dangers of trade conflicts have resonated amid escalating tensions in global markets. As the situation unfolds, California Governor Gavin Newsom is taking proactive steps to shield the state's economy from the fallout of Trump's tariffs, with California being the fifth largest economy in the world. Newsom has directed his administration to forge new strategic international trade relationships while seeking exemptions for California-made products from retaliatory tariffs. He stated California leads the nation as the one state for agriculture and manufacturing. To our international partners, the Golden State will remain a steady, reliable partner for generations to come, no matter the turbulence coming out of Washington. Newsom's efforts underscore the critical role that California plays in the U.S. economy, contributing significantly to trade and employment. The state is home to over 36,000 manufacturing firms and leads in sectors such as high-tech and agriculture. The imposition of tariffs is poised to disrupt this balance, particularly affecting California's strong export relationships with Mexico, Canada, and China, which constitute over 40% of the state's imports. Meanwhile, the broader economic implications of the tariffs are becoming increasingly apparent. Markets are already feeling the strain, with major indices experiencing significant declines. The S&P 500 fell by more than 9% over the past week, marking one of its worst performances since the onset of the pandemic in 2020. Analysts have warned that the tariffs could lead to a 2.3% increase in inflation, severely impacting household budgets across the nation. As the political and economic landscape continues to shift, the future remains uncertain. The ramifications of these tariffs are likely to be felt across various sectors from manufacturing to agriculture and could exacerbate the ongoing inflation crisis. Both Buffett's denial of endorsement and Newsom's strategic initiatives highlight the complexities of navigating economic policy amidst a turbulent market environment. Stakeholders from all sectors will be watching closely as the situation develops. Anticipating further moves from both the Trump administration and California's leadership in response to the global economic challenges ahead, the global economic landscape has been rocked by President Donald Trump's recent announcement of sweeping tariffs aimed at China and other countries, igniting fears of a protracted trade war that could reverberate across markets and industries. This move, which includes a staggering 34% import tax on Chinese goods, has already triggered retaliatory measures from Beijing, prompting President Trump to defiantly assert that China played it wrong in response to the escalating tensions. As Wall Street grapples with the implications of this new tariff regime, the financial markets have experienced significant turbulence. After the tariffs were announced, the S&P 500 plummeted by nearly 6%, edging closer to the bear market threshold of a 20% decline from its peak. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also suffered, dropping 5.8% and entering bear market territory. Such market declines reflect a growing consensus among investors that the tariffs could lead to higher inflation and slower economic growth, as warned by Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who noted that the tariff increases would likely exceed previous expectations. In a bold defense of his economic strategy, President Trump took to his social media platform Truth Social to declare that his policies would remain unchanged and that they were already working. He pointed to a recently released jobs report that showed increased hiring in the month leading up to the tariff announcement as evidence of his administration's effectiveness. Trump has continued to dismiss concerns from economists who predicted adverse effects, suggesting that their critiques are ideologically motivated and out of touch with the realities of his policies. The ramifications of these tariffs extend beyond financial markets. They are poised to significantly impact U.S. businesses, many of which may face higher production costs that could ultimately be passed on to consumers. This could lead to increased prices for goods and a potential slowdown in consumer spending and business investment, factors that economists warn could push the U.S. economy into recession. Against this backdrop, the situation has further complicated negotiations surrounding TikTok, the popular social media platform owned by the Chinese company ByteDance. In a surprising turn, President Trump extended the deadline for ByteDance to divest its U.S. operations by an additional 75 days. Signaling a recognition of the complex interplay between the tariff policy and the negotiations over TikTok. The extension came after ByteDance indicated that the newly imposed tariffs could complicate any potential sale, necessitating further discussions about trade terms. Trump's administration had previously signaled confidence that a deal could be reached quickly, but the tariffs have added a layer of uncertainty. The negotiations, which aim to address national security concerns about Chinese access to American user data, have been characterized by a back-and-forth dialogue that now intertwines with the broader trade tensions between the two nations. While Trump remains steadfast in his belief that the tariffs are a necessary tool for achieving fair trade, global leaders and economists have raised alarms about the potential for a downward spiral in international trade. The World Trade Organization's Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala warned that the tariffs could lead to a contraction in global merchandise trade volumes, revising previous growth projections downward by nearly 4 percentage points. As the U.S. administration navigates these turbulent waters, it faces mounting pressure from both domestic and international stakeholders. California Governor Gavin Newsom has indicated that the state may seek to negotiate its own trade agreements to mitigate the impact of federal tariffs on local businesses. Meanwhile, the European Union's Trade Commissioner has expressed concerns that U.S. tariffs are unjustified and damaging. The unfolding trade saga is not just a matter of economic statistics, but one that could influence the political landscape as well, with Trump's base potentially feeling the pinch from rising prices. As the situation evolves, the administration's approach to tariffs and negotiations will be closely scrutinized, with many wondering whether a coherent strategy exists amidst the chaos. Looking ahead, the potential for a sustained trade conflict looms large, with both sides likely to continue employing tariffs as leverage in negotiations. The interdependence of global economies means that the outcomes of these policies will have far-reaching consequences not only for the U.S. economy but for the global marketplace. As negotiations around TikTok continue alongside this turbulent trade environment, it remains to be seen how both sides will navigate these complex issues in pursuit of a resolution. As the political landscape continues to shift under the weight of economic realities, former President Donald Trump has found himself at a crossroads with his ambitious agenda. On April 2, 2025, Trump boldly announced sweeping new tariffs on U.S. imports, declaring the day as America's Liberation Day. However, the ensuing economic fallout has sparked turmoil in the stock market and raised questions about the viability of his policies. Since the tariff announcement, U.S. stock markets have experienced significant declines, with investors reacting to the uncertainty surrounding Trump's trade strategy. Key trading partners, including Canada, the European Union, and China, have signaled their readiness to retaliate, setting the stage for a potentially protracted economic battle. The president's confidence in his approach appears unshaken as he remarked that the current turmoil was merely a precursor to a booming economy. "I said this would be exactly the way it is," Trump stated, affirming his enduring belief in a revitalized manufacturing sector shielded from foreign competition. The tariff announcement is not the only challenge facing Trump's administration. His foreign policy initiatives, including efforts to defuse tensions in Gaza and Ukraine, have also encountered significant obstacles. In Gaza, Israel's recent military actions have escalated, undermining the ceasefire Trump had previously touted. Meanwhile, negotiations with Russia regarding Ukraine are stalling, with critics suggesting that Trump's approach may inadvertently embolden Russian aggression. Jake Sullivan, former national security advisor under President Biden, cautioned that the current dynamics suggest the Kremlin might expect further concessions from the U.S. as it continues its territorial ambitions. Compounding these issues are Trump's efforts on immigration enforcement, which have faced legal challenges that threaten to derail his plans. Recent deportation flights targeting alleged gang members have come under scrutiny, with court rulings indicating potential violations of legal orders. Additionally, the administration's attempts to alter asylum processing and revoke protections for Venezuelans are currently mired in the U.S. legal system, further complicating Trump's efforts to deliver on his promises. This tumultuous week has also seen significant electoral developments, with key elections in Wisconsin and Florida suggesting a shift in voter sentiment. In Wisconsin, a Democratic-backed candidate won a crucial state Supreme Court election, while Republican candidates in Florida secured victories with margins that fell short of Trump's 2024 performance. These results hint at a potential resurgence for Democrats in upcoming elections, particularly as they capitalize on growing dissatisfaction with Trump's policies among some voter segments. Trump's handling of the tariffs has prompted dissent within Republican ranks, with some party members expressing concern over the potential economic repercussions. Senator Ted Cruz remarked that the tariffs could harm American jobs and warned of retaliatory measures from other nations. This sentiment is echoed by other Republicans who are beginning to question the long-term viability of Trump's agenda amidst rising public discontent and economic uncertainty. As protests against Trump's policies began to unfold across the country, a mass demonstration titled "Hands Off" aims to unite various groups opposing the administration's cuts to healthcare, Social Security, and education. Organizers emphasized the need for a broad coalition to address the consequences of Trump's economic decisions, which they argue disproportionately affect ordinary Americans while benefiting the wealthy. Looking ahead, the political and economic landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. Trump's agenda, once characterized by bold promises and ambitious reforms, now stands challenged by the harsh realities of market reactions and shifting public opinion. As the administration proceeds with its controversial policies, the potential for internal party fractures looms, raising questions about the sustainability of Trump's vision for America. The coming months will be pivotal, as both the economic fallout from his tariffs and the political ramifications of recent electoral shifts continue to unfold. The outcome may not only redefine Trump's second term but could also reshape the future of the Republican Party. As global markets grapple with the shockwaves of President Donald Trump's sweeping tariff measures, the economic landscape is shifting dramatically. Following the announcement of expansive tariffs that would impose taxes on a wide array of imports, including a 34% levy on Chinese goods, the U.S. stock market experienced severe turbulence, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq both entering bear market territory. Wall Street's anxiety intensified as China's retaliation against Trump's tariffs further fueled fears of an escalating trade war. President Trump, however, remains defiant in the face of this turmoil, asserting that his economic policies are already working. He took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to proclaim that "my policies will never change," even as the markets plummeted, experiencing one of their most significant drops in recent memory. For instance, the Dow Jones Industrial Average opened with a staggering 1,000-point loss on Friday after China announced its retaliatory tariffs following a previous 1,600-point drop.
The economic implications of these tariffs are profound.
Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve, highlighted the increasing uncertainty surrounding the economy, noting that the anticipated tariff increases would likely lead to higher inflation and slower growth. This sentiment was echoed by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization, who warned of a potential 1% contraction in global merchandise trade volumes for the year, a stark revision from earlier projections. While the job market showed some resilience with the addition of 228,000 jobs in March, significantly exceeding expectations, economists caution that these figures reflect a past reality,
not the future challenges posed by the unfolding trade conflict.
The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 4.2%, attributed to an influx of new job seekers, a positive sign that contrasts sharply with the market's distress. Businesses across various sectors are bracing for the impact of increased costs. The hospitality and healthcare industries added substantial jobs, yet uncertainty looms large, with many employers pausing hiring and re-evaluating their purchasing strategies in light of rising import costs. For instance, Alex Clark, co-founder of Fort Hamilton Distillery in Brooklyn, expressed concern about the unpredictability of tariffs affecting his inventory purchases as he front-loaded supplies to mitigate future price hikes. The political ramifications are equally significant, with state leaders such as California Governor Gavin Newsom
signaling intentions to negotiate independent trade deals to protect local economies.
Newsom emphasized that the president's approach could have profound effects on the very constituents who supported him. Critics of Trump's tariff strategy argue that it could exacerbate economic instability, potentially leading to higher consumer prices and reduced spending, a scenario that could ultimately push the economy into recession. As markets react to these developments, the reality is that Trump's administration appears to be at a crossroads, with the potential for both short-term economic pain and long-term strategic recalibrations of trade relationships. Looking ahead, the administration's mixed signals regarding future negotiations and tariff adjustments only add to the uncertainty. Trump's willingness to cut deals remains ambiguous as he balances the demands of his base with the realities of economic governance. As global leaders and economists watch closely, the unfolding situation underlines the delicate interplay between trade policy and economic health, with significant implications for businesses and consumers alike in the months to come. In a dramatic turn of events, President Donald Trump has dismissed General Timothy Hall, the head of the National Security Agency (NSA) and U.S. Cyber Command, a decision that has raised alarms among national security
experts and lawmakers alike.
The firing, reported on April 4, 2025, appears to be part of a broader purge within the administration, which some analysts suggest could jeopardize the country's cyber defenses at a time of increasing threats. General Hall's removal came on the heels of a meeting between Trump and Laura Loomer,
a far-right activist known for her vocal support of the president. Loomer reportedly urged the president to fire specific officials she believed were disloyal to his administration. While Trump has denied that Loomer directly influenced his decision, he has expressed a willingness to remove staff deemed unsupportive of his agenda.
"We're always going to let go of people we don't like, or people that take advantage of, or people that may have loyalties to someone else," he stated during a press briefing aboard Air Force One. The dismissal of General Hall, who has played a crucial role in countering Russian cyber activities since 2016, raises troubling questions about the future of U.S. cyber defenses. The firing coincides with broader cuts to cybersecurity resources under the Trump administration,
which have included the dismantling of programs aimed at protecting election infrastructure and critical national assets from cyber attacks.
As noted by Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, the timing of Hall's firing is particularly concerning given the escalating sophistication of cyber threats, including those from foreign adversaries like China. In the wake of the firing, several other officials within the National Security Council (NSC) were also dismissed, including Brian Walsh and Thomas Boudry, adding to the perception of instability within the administration's national security apparatus. The NSC had previously faced scrutiny for a significant breach in protocol when a journalist was inadvertently added to a classified messaging thread regarding military operations.
An incident that has prompted internal reviews and raised questions about the integrity of communications within the agency. Analysts are particularly alarmed by Trump's ongoing efforts to weaken U.S. cyber defenses. Recent reports indicate that the administration has systematically dismantled various cybersecurity programs that were designed to protect the nation from rising threats, including ransomware attacks and foreign interference in elections. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency (CISA) has seen substantial budget cuts, eliminating vital programs that once provided crucial support to state and local election officials. In Arizona, for instance, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes expressed his concerns, stating, "It's like somebody lowered the drawbridge and there are no guards." His sentiment captures the growing anxiety among election officials nationwide, who are now facing the daunting challenge of securing their systems without the support they previously relied upon. The implications of these firings and budget cuts extend beyond mere personnel changes. They threaten the very fabric of U.S. national security, particularly in the realm of cybersecurity. Experts warn that as adversaries exploit vulnerabilities in electoral infrastructure and critical systems, the lack of coordinated defense strategies could leave the nation susceptible to devastating attacks. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the impact of these recent developments will likely resonate beyond the immediate fallout. With the next election cycle on the horizon and cyber threats becoming increasingly sophisticated, the urgency for robust cybersecurity measures has never been clearer. Observers are left to ponder how the Trump administration will navigate these challenges in the coming months, particularly as it confronts a complex web of national security concerns that demand comprehensive and coherent strategies. The future of U.S. cybersecurity hangs in the balance, with the potential for significant ramifications that could shape the nation's defenses for years to come. In a world increasingly characterized by geopolitical tensions and the specter of military conflict, the dynamics between Iran and the United States have become a focal point of international relations. As President Trump hints at the possibility of direct negotiations with Tehran, the complex interplay of diplomacy and military posturing continues to shape the narrative. Recent developments suggest that while the U.S. administration is ramping up its military presence in the Middle East, there remains a glimmer of hope for dialogue that could avert a potentially devastating conflict. On April 4, 2025, President Trump, speaking to reporters during a flight on Air Force One, expressed a preference for direct talks with Iran, citing the efficiency of such negotiations over intermediaries. "I think it's better if we have direct talks. I think it goes faster and you understand the other side a lot better," Trump stated, underscoring a desire for immediate engagement. This softer tone followed earlier threats to bomb Iran should diplomatic efforts fail, indicating a possible shift in strategy amidst an escalating military buildup. Iran's leadership, while historically cautious in its diplomatic overtures, appears to be signaling a willingness to engage. Reports suggest that Iran is open to indirect negotiations with the U.S., with the potential for direct talks if progress is made. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has emphasized the importance of diplomatic engagement, reiterating that Tehran has never sought to develop nuclear weapons and highlighting the need for constructive dialogue. However, the backdrop of military maneuvers complicates the landscape. The Pentagon has recently dispatched additional warplanes to the region, including at least 6 B-2 stealth bombers, a show of force that analysts interpret as a warning to Tehran. Concurrently, the U.S. continues to engage in operations against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, further heightening tensions. As the situation develops, Israeli officials have noted Iran's openness to talks, yet the fear of military confrontation looms large, especially with international observers warning that the window for a diplomatic resolution is closing rapidly. The stakes are high and the implications of either a diplomatic breakthrough or a military escalation could be profound. Analysts have pointed to the necessity for Iran to seize this moment for dialogue before military rhetoric exacerbates an already volatile situation. Prominent figures within Iran's political sphere, including moderate voices,
have cautioned against the consequences of aggressive posturing, advocating instead for direct negotiations to resolve long-standing disputes. As the geopolitical chess game unfolds, nations around the world are closely monitoring the developments. Russia has offered to mediate discussions, emphasizing the urgency of reaching a reasonable agreement before it becomes too late. Meanwhile, the potential for a military confrontation remains a pressing concern, particularly in light of the U.S. commitment to maintaining a robust military presence in the region. The contrasting narratives of threats and diplomacy encapsulate the complexities of international relations in the modern era. As the U.S. positions itself both militarily and diplomatically, the future remains uncertain. The dialogue between Trump and Iran may ultimately prove pivotal in determining not only the fate of U.S.-Iran relations but also the broader geopolitical landscape. In conclusion, the road ahead is fraught with challenges. The interplay of military might and diplomatic overtures will likely dictate the outcomes in the coming months. As both sides navigate this intricate web of interests, the hope remains that dialogue can prevail over conflict, fostering a path toward stability in a region that has long been marred by strife. Future developments will undoubtedly shape the narrative, and the international community will be watching closely to see if this moment of potential reconciliation can be harnessed to avert war.